Okay, let's unpack this. Uh, the idea of dying of laughter. We all say it, don't we? Like, oh, that was so funny, I almost died.
Right. It's just a figure of speech, usually.
But you shared some, well, really fascinating material
Oh,
with the suggesting maybe it's not always just a saying.
exactly. It sounds, completely outlandish, but the source we looked at, a Wikipedia entry on death from laughter, actually suggests it's been documented. Rarely, of course, but
Wow.
still.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we're really going to get into this surprisingly real, though obviously very unusual, history of people apparently laughing themselves to death.
Yeah, and this Wikipedia article, it's a good starting point, gives a pretty broad overview, touches on the potential reasons, how it could happen, and lists some really sometimes unbelievable stories.
Right. It looks like it covers the physiology a bit, the mechanics of it, and then these historical cases from like way back when, right up to modern times.
Precisely. So our mission here is to kind of explore the most interesting parts, maybe the slightly unsettling details too, for everyone listening.
Definitely. And we're not just going to, read off a list. We want to understand how the potential causes and really dig into some of these historical accounts. Some sound pretty wild.
You do.
And maybe even touch on how this whole bizarre idea shows up in fiction, too. So
Yeah.
yeah, prepare for maybe a few aha moments.
Yeah.
Hopefully no actual medical emergencies from listening.
Let's hope not. Okay, so maybe start with the science bit. The how. How could laughing actually lead to, well, that?
Yeah, good idea. Because normally, like the source says, laughter's great, healthy even. It involves different
Right.
brain bits working together, right?
Yeah.
Something involuntary.
Yeah, the amygdala that's involved in the involuntary side, the emotional reaction. And then there are voluntary parts too, the premotor opercular areas involved in like controlling the physical act of laughing.
Okay, so complex brain stuff, but usually
Hmm.
totally harmless. Fun even.
Exactly. But the source does point out that in certain specific situations with underlying pathologies, laughter can become dangerous.
Okay, so how? What are the specific ways this could actually happen?
Well, the article lists a few key possibilities. One is asphyxiation.
Asphyxiation. You mean like choking?
Essentially, yeah, a severe lack of oxygen. Imagine laughing so hard, so uncontrollably for so long that you just can't get enough air in.
Wow. That's that sounds pretty awful, just not being able to stop and catch your breath.
It's a scary thought. Another potential cause mentioned is something called atonia and collapse, or elastic syncope.
Atonia, like losing muscle tone.
Yeah, exactly. Intense laughter causing a sudden temporary loss of muscle control. You could just collapse, faint.
Ah, okay. Like fainting from shock, maybe?
Sort of similar mechanism, maybe. The danger isn't always the fainting itself, but, hitting your head or something when you fall. The source also mentions related things like laughter-induced syncope, cataplexy, which is often linked to narcolepsy, and the Basal-Gerish reflex. They all involve these sudden bodily changes triggered by something.
Okay, so the laughter triggers a kind of system failure almost, a physical shutdown. What else?
Then there are gelastic seizures. Now, these aren't just finding a joke really, really funny.
Right. That sounds different.
It is. These are actual seizures, often manifesting as sudden bursts of laughter, but it might sound kind of mirthless, not genuine joy. They can be caused by like little bits of damaged focal lesions in the hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus, right, that controls a lot of automatic stuff, emotions.
Exactly. And if someone's having these kinds of seizures, it might signal, a more urgent underlying problem. Fainting associated with these has also been linked to the cerebellum, another part of the brain.
So in that case, the laughter isn't really laughter at something funny. It's more like a neurological symptom. Very different.
Very different. And the last main one mentioned is cardiac arrest.
Heart attack from laughing. But laughter feels good, reduces stress usually.
Usually, yes. But excessive, prolonged laughter, especially in someone who already has, say, a heart condition, that physical exertion and emotional intensity could theoretically put enough strain on the heart to trigger an event. Like, any intense activity could be risky for someone with a weak heart.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So potential causes are lack of oxygen, fainting and falling, these weird neurological laughter seizures, or basically overstressing a vulnerable heart.
Pretty much sums up the possibilities outlined in the source.
And this seems like but the source stresses this is all extremely rare.
Absolutely critical point. These mechanisms exist, they might explain some historical cases, but it's incredibly uncommon. For almost everyone, laughter is just laughter, a good thing.
Right, okay, phew. So now for the really fascinating bit, the stories, the notable cases, the source lists, starting way back. Ancient Greece.
Yep, that's where the earliest accounts seem to come from. First up is Zeuxis, a painter, 5th century BC.
Okay, what's his story?
Apparently, he painted a funny picture of an old woman, possibly Aphrodite, and found his own work so hilarious that he died laughing at it.
Laughing at his own painting. Seriously.
Seriously, that's the story. Brief mention, but it shows the idea was around even then.
Wild. Okay, who else from back then?
Chrysippus. He was a Stoic philosopher, 3rd century BC. Apparently, he's sometimes even called the man who died from laughing at his own joke.
Okay, I need to hear this joke. Or, well, the setup anyway.
The story goes, he saw a donkey eating his figs. Then he apparently quipped to his servant, something like, "Now give the donkey a drink of pure wine to wash down the figs."
Okay.
And supposedly he found his own wit so utterly amusing that, according to the writer Diogenes Laertius, having laughed too much, he died.
Oh my God, at his own joke about a drunk donkey? That's quite the legacy for a Stoic philosopher.
It really is. It makes you think, even back then, death by laughter was so unusual it was worth writing down.
Definitely. Okay, let's jump way forward. Middle Ages, Renaissance.
We've got King Martin of Aragon, 1410. The report is he died from a combo of indigestion and uncontrollable laughter.
Indigestion and laughter. Oof.
Yeah, but the source itself flags this one. Says, better source needed.
Oh, okay. So maybe more legend than fact.
Could be. It's important to remember with these really old accounts, documentation might be shaky. Word of mouth may be embellished over time. So, interesting story, but maybe take it with a pinch of salt.
Got it. Then 1556, Pietro Aretino.
Yeah, an Italian author, playwright. Pretty controversial figure in his time. He is said to have died of suffocation from laughing too much.
Is said to have, okay, so again, a bit hazy maybe, but fits the asphyxiation idea we talked about.
It does. A dramatic end for a sharp-witted writer, if true.
Moving on, early modern period. Sir Thomas Rooker, 1660.
That's right. Scottish aristocrat, translator, polymath translated Rabelais, who was known for his earthy humor.
Okay, and him.
He reportedly died laughing when he heard that Charles II had taken the throne, marking the Restoration.
Just pure joy.
Yeah.
Or maybe sarcastic laughter.
Hard to say, isn't it? Could be sheer elation, or maybe something more complex from an intellectual known for his wit. Either way, the reported cause is, again, laughter.
Okay, now into the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
These cases might be a bit more solid. 1920, Australia, Arthur Cobcroft.
Yes, a 56-year-old dog trainer. The story is he was reading a really old newspaper, like 5 years old.
Okay.
And he started laughing, apparently, at how much prices had changed in just 5 years. Called his wife over, was laughing about it, then collapsed and died.
Just from laughing at old prices.
That's the account. And importantly, a doctor apparently examined him and stated that death was due to heart failure brought by excessive laughter.
Ah, okay, so there's a specific medical opinion linked directly to the laughter. That sounds more concrete.
It does seem a bit more documented, yes. The specific trigger old newspaper prices makes it kind of oddly specific, too.
Yeah, it really does.
Oh.
Okay, next one. 1965, Philippines. A carpenter.
Yeah, a 24-year-old carpenter, apparently known for being funny. He was telling jokes with friends. And one joke, either one he told or one he heard, accounts seem to differ slightly, was supposedly so funny he just couldn't stop laughing. He fainted and, sadly, died before reaching a hospital.
Wow. That young, too.
I know. The source notes one link for this is dead, but refers to an account in the Big Book of Boy Stuff, which suggests he heard the joke, laughed till he cried, collapsed, and died.
So, intense laughter, collapse, fatal outcome. The pattern seems consistent, even if the exact trigger is debated.
Exactly. The core element is the overwhelming laughter leading to a physical breakdown.
Okay, 1975. This one rings a bell. Alex Mitchell, England. The Goodies.
That's the famous one, yes. He was watching a specific episode, Kung Fu Capers, laughed continuously for apparently 25 minutes.
25 minutes,
Yep.
nonstop.
Reportedly. Then he slumped over on the sofa, dead from heart failure.
That's just staggering. But there's more to this story, isn't there?
There is. His widow actually wrote to the Goodies, thanking them for making his last moments happy, which is quite something. And years later, 2012, his granddaughter was diagnosed with an inheritable heart condition, long QT syndrome.
Ah. So that suggests...
It suggests Alex Mitchell himself might have had this underlying condition undiagnosed, which would make the heart failure from prolonged laughter much more plausible physiologically.
Right. That adds a crucial layer. It wasn't just the laughter, but the laughter acting on a pre-existing vulnerability.
Precisely. It really highlights that potential factor in these rare cases.
Okay, then. 1989, Denmark.
Mm.
Ole Benson watching a movie.
A Fish Called Wanda, he was an audiologist, apparently watching it during its initial cinema run, laughed so hard he died. Another one that got a lot of press at the time.
Yeah, I can imagine. The irony of an audiologist.
Wow.
It does add a layer to the anecdote, tragic as it is.
And into the 21st century now, 2003, Thailand, Damyeon and Sanam.
An ice cream truck driver, 52. This one's a bit different. He supposedly died laughing in his sleep.
In his sleep, how does that even... It's unclear. He was apparently healthy. Doctors suspected heart failure, but the laughing part, especially while asleep, makes it quite mysterious.
Definitely adds another strange twist. So from ancient philosophers laughing at donkeys to someone laughing in their sleep.
Oh.
It's quite a bizarre historical thread.
It really is. It underscores how powerful and occasionally dangerous, even seemingly positive emotions can be, physiologically speaking.
Yeah. And it clearly fascinates people because this idea pops up in fiction quite a bit too, right? The source lists several examples.
Absolutely. Storytellers seem drawn to this extreme possibility, like Lord Dunsany's story, The Three Infernal Jokes.
Infernal jokes. Sounds ominous.
They are. Jokes literally written to be so funny they kill whoever hears them, taking the idea to its most literal, weaponized extreme.
Right, and then there's the classic Monty Python sketch.
The funniest joke in the world, yeah. Where the joke is so potent, it's used as a weapon in World War II. Anyone who hears or reads it just dies laughing instantly. Pure comedy gold based on this very idea.
Can't forget that one. What else? Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, the weasels. Judge Doom's henchmen. They literally die from laughing too hard, especially at the end. It's played for cartoonish effect, obviously, but still uses the trope.
Okay, and even Seinfeld.
Yep, the episode The Stand-In. Jerry tells a joke to someone who's already ill, and the guy laughs hysterically and then just dies. It's used for dark humor there.
Dark humor indeed. And infinite jest. That's a more serious take, isn't it?
Very much so. David Foster Wallace's novel features this entertainment, this film, that's so captivatingly funny or engaging that people watch it and basically lose the will to do anything else, eventually dying. It's more symbolic, maybe about addiction and entertainment, but the deadly result is similar.
Interesting. A different angle. What about The Clean House?
That's a play where dying of laughter is a theme, perhaps more metaphorically exploring joy, release, and mortality.
Right, and South Park used it too.
Uh-huh. In the episode Scott Tenorman Must Die, Kenny dies laughing at a video. Fits right in with South Park style, using extreme scenarios for satire.
Of course. And finally, that show 1000 Ways to Die.
Yeah, they did a dramatization called Funny Boned. Seems like a riff on some of these real stories. Guy hears a great joke, laughs for ages, heart attack. Probably exaggerated for TV.
So fiction really runs with this idea, from literal killer jokes to more symbolic uses.
It does. It seems to tap into our fascination with extremes, with the idea that even something good, like joy or humor, could be pushed too far, have unexpected, even fatal consequences. It's fertile ground for storytelling.
Okay, so wrapping this up then, death from laughter. It's real, historically speaking, even if it's incredibly rare.
That seems to be the conclusion, yeah. The documentation exists, stretching way back.
And the how involves potential issues like asphyxiation, syncope leading to trauma, those gelastic seizures or cardiac events, often linked to underlying conditions.
Exactly. Those are the physiological pathways that seem most likely based on the accounts and medical understanding.
The big takeaway for me is how that common phrase, "I could die laughing," actually has this tiny, bizarre sliver of truth behind it.
It does. And even acknowledging the uncertainty around some older reports, the pattern of these stories appearing across centuries is pretty striking. It's clearly an idea that has captured people's attention.
Well, you definitely brought us a fascinating, if slightly morbid, topic to dive into. Hopefully we've shed some light on the reality behind the saying.
It makes you think, doesn't it, about the power of our own emotions, how intricately our bodies react to things, even something we think of as purely positive like laughter.
Yeah, it definitely makes you wonder what other seemingly harmless things could possibly, in some super rare specific circumstance, have completely unexpected extreme results.
That's a really interesting thought to leave things on, and definitely something to ponder.